Okay, I watched a YouTube video on child abuse, and the YouTube child abuse video was looking on this girl who was actually abused by her own mother because she fell on hard times financially, and it showed where, for example, she couldn't even afford to pay the mortgage, and as a result of that she was evicted, or it was the rent probably, and she was evicted. Anyway, that child eventually died. And then I always read what people write, you know. I always like to see what people's responses are. And I was just flabbergasted, to say the least, when I saw one person writing that, oh, this looks like a black family's problem. This was just, it tore me to pieces. And it tore me to pieces because I knew that this was either a racist troll or basically a very ignorant person. Either way, it is dangerous. Either way, it is dangerous. Of course, I didn't put into perspective that this family was basically a white family. And what people don't realize is that it doesn't matter if you're black, you're white, you're Asians, everyone is affected. And they're affected for different reasons. It could be one whereby there's financial situations or financial problems, as this family was acted on, or it could have been that, of course, a generational problem where, for example, in the past that mother was abused and so she ended up abusing her own children, or the father was abused and so he ends up hating and abusing his own children. It happens. Of course, that's only two possible reasons. There are other reasons, yeah? Now, because of that, I felt obliged. I felt that I had to actually bring certain data in place. I need to bring facts in place to show that it is dangerous, because when you think that it's only one family or one group or one culture or one race or one people being affected, or certain countries or continents being affected only, then you run the risk of allowing death to take place, yeah? You run the risk of ignoring the reality of what's going on, and as a result of that, a certain group, that group which you think is different and won't be affected, or is not able to be affected by this, that group could be affected in the most tragic way. So I want to share these statistics with you. Sad though it may be, it is true, and it is basically taken from the Radford et al. Research, which basically shows that what the statistics here are, they're from the England and Wales, okay? So let me run it by you, seriously, because you need to understand that 2/3, or about 66% of sexual abuse children were from 1 to 17 years old in England and Wales in 2010, 2011, yeah? That's a lot. That's actually a lot, right? 17,222 sexual crimes against children were under 16 in England and Wales. And that was in 2010-11. 4,301 sexual assault on a female child who was under 13. That is bad. 1,125 sexual assault on a male child under the age of 13, and that's basically a selective amount of people who were actually researched on. So please get that in your mind, yeah? But here is the tragic part of it. 1 in 80 children under 11 years old experience physical violence of the hands of parents or guardians. So it's not just a black child, or in Africa, or in Asia, where you will find this happening. This is something that has happened in England and Wales, yeah? And even though we know it's a multicultural society where you're finding a lot more ethnic minorities in this country, or these countries, what we are finding out though is that a lot of them are also white people who are being affected, yeah? And I can tell you one very, very famous incident was Baby P, yeah, who was beaten to death. Social workers were always there, and still it was not actually taken seriously. Then we have, of course, 1 in 14 children aged 11 to 17 who have experienced physical violence at the hands of parents or guardians, right? 60 to 70% of child sex offenders target girls, 20 to 33% of them target boys, and 10% of them do not care whether it is a boy or a girl. So I can tell you pedophilia is on the rise without a doubt. It's not just here, it's also in the USA. And then the alarming part of it from this research is that 82.7% did not tell anyone, and these were children from the age of 11 to 17. They didn't tell anyone, possibly because of fear or because of the fact that they felt embarrassed or they felt ashamed or they felt no one would believe them. And that is why I've written this book, A Boy's Cry, and I've also written The Missing Fathers. So I ask you to support me in whatever way you can. Buy the book, tell someone, spread the word on maybe Facebook, Twitter, wherever. Just do your thing, yeah? And I must say that I really, really appreciate the help so far. So far I've had 200 copies of A Boy's Cry sold in the USA, but we can do better than that, yeah? So I just need you to understand that it's time we start to think in a very more mature, in a serious way, because it could mean you saving a life. Thank you very much.